You have to wonder if they have a schedule for these things, don't you? Just when the palace seems to be getting on with the job, head down, dignity intact, we get a new video from California that screams for attention. By now, you've probably seen the footage circulating since the 12th of February. It's Prince Harry standing in front of a room full of grieving parents, people who have lost their children to the darkest corners of social media, to suicide, to bullying, and he is weeping. He is fighting back tears, his voice cracking as he tells them, "None of you should be here." It's a powerful image, isn't it? On the surface, it's the heartbreaking sight of a father empathizing with the worst pain imaginable. But look a little closer. Listen a little harder to what was actually said, and the story starts to shift. Because while the tears were flowing, the narrative, as it always seems to do with the Sussexes, somehow circled back to him. And that is where the real heat is coming from today. While Harry is crying on camera, back in London, a very different kind of meeting is reportedly taking place, one that involves a locked door and a set of keys held firmly by his brother and aunt. The contrast couldn't be sharper. One side is selling emotion, and the other is handling business. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We need to talk about what happened on February 12th, because this isn't just another speech. This is a moment that encapsulates everything that has gone wrong with the brand Sussex strategy. And it also highlights exactly why the royal family has turned their backs. The video in question was filmed during a gathering for parents who have lost children to online harms, a cause that is undeniably important. No one disputes that. These families are going through hell, and they deserve every ounce of support they can get. Harry stood there, clearly emotional, and delivered that line. "None of you should be here." It's the kind of soundbite that plays beautifully on the evening news. It's empathetic, it's tragic, and it positions him as the caring prince, the one who feels things deeply in a world of stiff upper lips. But here is where it gets messy. Here is where the saintly image starts to crack. According to reports and the full context of his speech, Harry didn't just stick to their pain. He couldn't help but weave his own legal battles into the tapestry of their tragedy. He reportedly made a comparison that has left a lot of people open-mouthed, referencing a David and Goliath struggle. Now, we know Harry loves this narrative. He sees himself as the lone warrior fighting the dragon of the British press. He views his phone hacking cases about voicemails and privacy intrusion, as this monumental human rights crusade. And yes, privacy is important. But to stand in a room with mothers and fathers who have buried their teenage children because of algorithmic cruelty and bullying, and to draw any parallel to your own struggle with tabloid journalists, that takes a level of detachment that is genuinely hard to wrap your head around. The internet, as you can imagine, has not been kind. The comments section under these videos isn't filled with the universal praise he might have expected. Instead, people are asking the uncomfortable questions. Why does he always make it about himself? How can you compare a lawsuit about voicemails to the death of a child? It's the classic Sussex trap. They start with a good cause, but the ego gets in the way. It's as if he cannot separate his own grievances from the suffering of others. He looks at a grieving mother and sees a reflection of his own victimhood, rather than seeing her unique, incomparable loss. And that David and Goliath line, it lands with a thud when you realize he is a prince of the realm, living in a Montecito mansion, suing newspapers with millions of dollars in legal fees, while these parents are often fighting massive tech giants with nothing but their grief and their grit. Who is the real David here? It certainly isn't the man with the royal title. And let's talk about the tears. I know, we shouldn't police people's emotions. Maybe he was genuinely overcome. He is a father, after all. But there is a cynicism growing in the public, and you can't blame them. We've seen the single tear drop in the Netflix documentary. We've seen the dramatic pauses in the Oprah interview. When you monetize your trauma for years, when you sell your family secrets for a paycheck, you lose the benefit of the doubt. People are watching this video and asking, is this for them or is this for the cameras? Is this compassion or is this content? It's a harsh question, but it's one he has invited by turning his life into a reality show. The timing, too, is suspicious. Whenever the noise around them starts to die down, whenever the brand starts to look a bit stale, we get a high-octane emotional display. It keeps them in the headlines, it keeps the clicks coming, but it doesn't necessarily help the cause. In fact, you could argue it overshadows it. Instead of talking about the safety legislation these parents are fighting for, we are all talking about Harry's crying face. The spotlight, once again, has been stolen. Now, let's pivot to the other side of the Atlantic, because the silence from London is deafening, and frankly, it speaks volumes. While Harry is weeping on the West Coast, Prince William and King Charles are demonstrating what royalty is actually supposed to look like. You don't see William giving tearful speeches about his own struggles every time he visits a hospital or a charity. You don't see him comparing his bad days to the plight of the homeless or the sick. He shows up, he listens, he shines the light on the people, and then he goes home. It's not about him. It's about the duty. And right now, that duty includes protecting the monarchy from the very toxicity that Harry claims to be fighting. The word from the palace corridors is that this latest display has only hardened their resolve. You see, for Charles and William, this isn't just annoying. It's validating. It proves that Harry is still operating in a different reality, one where feelings are facts, and where every public appearance is a therapy session. They are looking at this David and Goliath speech and shaking their heads. They know that you cannot run an institution that is meant to be a symbol of stability if you are constantly emotionally unraveling in public. The late Queen famously said, "I have to be seen to be believed," but she meant her presence, her fortitude, not her breakdowns. Harry seems to think that being seen means being seen suffering. There is a fascinating dynamic playing out here between the brothers. William has become the statesman. He's dealing with the geopolitical stuff, the Earthshot Prize, the future of the Commonwealth. He's looking 20 years down the line. Harry, meanwhile, seems stuck in a loop of his past. He's fighting battles from 1997, fighting the ghosts of his childhood, and fighting a press pack that, ironically, he needs to stay relevant. This February 12th video highlights that gap more than ever. One brother is building a legacy, the other is building a case for why he's the world's biggest victim, and the public is exhausted. You can see it in the engagement numbers. Sure, the video is viral, but the sentiment has shifted. It's no longer, "Oh, poor Harry." It's, "Oh, Harry, not again." The narcissism angle is something we have to touch on because it's the word on everyone's lips. True empathy requires you to decenter yourself. It requires you to say, "This is your pain, and I am here to witness it." But Harry's brand of empathy is performative and self-referential. By telling these parents, None of you should be here. He's right. But when he follows it up with his own David versus Goliath struggle, he's essentially saying, I shouldn't be here either. Look at what they did to me. He equates his struggle with theirs, and that is a fundamental misunderstanding of the hierarchy of suffering. Losing a child is the ultimate loss. Having your voicemails hacked is a violation, yes, but it is not the same. And to conflate the two in a room full of grieving parents is not just tone-deaf. It's narcissistic. It suggests that he views the world only through the lens of his own experience. Everything is a mirror reflecting Harry back to Harry. This behavior is exactly why the gray rocking strategy from the royal family is working. They aren't engaging. They aren't issuing statements correcting him. They aren't saying, actually, Harry, that comparison is inappropriate. They are just letting him talk, and the more he talks, the more he reveals. It's a ruthless strategy, but it's effective. By letting him have the microphone, they are letting him dig his own hole. And this video, it's a pretty deep hole. It alienates the very people he is trying to win over, the sensible middle ground public who might have had sympathy for him initially, but are now repelled by the constant self-pity. But here is the kicker. Harry isn't doing this alone. He has a partner in this, a director for this ongoing melodrama. And while Harry is in front of the camera crying, Meghan is reportedly behind the scenes dealing with a crisis of her own. Because while Harry is selling emotion, Meghan is trying to sell a lifestyle, and apparently nobody is buying. The failure of their rebrand is putting immense pressure on them, and this emotional video feels like a distraction tactic. When the business fails, play the victim card. When the products don't sell, sell the tears. It's a cycle we have seen before, but it's becoming desperate. We have to ask ourselves, what is the end game here? If Harry truly wanted to help these families, he would use his platform to push for policy change quietly. He would fund legal teams without needing the credit. He would stand at the back of the room and let the parents take the microphone. But he can't do that. The Sussex business model requires him to be the face of the tragedy. It requires him to be the prince of pain. And that is why this video, as viral as it is, feels so hollow. It's not about the parents. It's about keeping the Harry show on the air for another season. And speaking of seasons, the winter in London is cold, but the reception Harry is about to receive from his family is even colder. We are hearing whispers of a definitive move by the senior royals, a blockade so complete that it makes the previous Megxit negotiations look like a friendly chat. William, Charles, and even Princess Anne, the hardest worker of them all, have allegedly had enough. They are done with the soap opera. They are done with the tears. And they are preparing to shut the door for good. This brings us to the rumors swirling around the palace gates. We all know that King Charles has a soft spot for his darling boy, but William is made of steel, and he has an ally in Princess Anne who suffers no fools. The talk of the town is that a summit has taken place, not to discuss reconciliation, but to discuss containment. They are treating Harry not as a family member to be brought back into the fold, but as a rogue element to be managed. And this video from the 12th, it was the final nail in the coffin. It proved to them that he hasn't changed, that he hasn't learned, and that he is still willing to use sensitive topics to boost his own profile. So, as we watch Harry wipe away a tear on our screens, remember that there is a much bigger game being played. The tears might be for the camera, but the stakes are very real. He is gambling his remaining credibility on these emotional displays, hoping the world will see a saint. But the world is starting to see a man who just can't stop talking about himself. And the family he left behind? They aren't watching anymore. They are moving on. And that, perhaps, is the one thing Harry and Meghan can't stand. Because if they aren't being watched, if they aren't the center of attention, do they even exist? Hold on to that thought, because if you think the video was dramatic, wait until you hear what is happening behind the scenes in Montecito. We are talking about blocked phone calls, a brand in freefall, and a duchess who is reportedly in a state of absolute panic. The meltdown rumors are flying, and we need to get into the nitty-gritty of why Meghan is blaming everyone but herself for the mess they are in. But let's not kid ourselves. Harry's not the only one feeling the walls closing in. Over in Montecito, the air is thick with tension, and it's not just from the ocean breeze. Word is spreading like wildfire that Meghan is in full meltdown mode, and honestly, who can blame her? The dream life they sold us, the independent power couple, the Hollywood royals, it's all starting to crack under the pressure. And from what insiders are whispering, she's pointing fingers everywhere except the mirror. You remember how it all started, right? They stepped back from royal duties, promising to carve out their own path, free from the stuffy traditions of the palace. But fast forward a few years, and that path looks more like a dead-end alley. The Spotify deal? Poof, gone after one season of archetypes that didn't exactly set the world on fire. Netflix? They squeezed out that docuseries, but the big bucks from those multi-million contracts are drying up faster than a California drought. And now the crown jewel of their rebrand, the lifestyle empire that was supposed to make Gwyneth Paltrow jealous, has turned into a punchline. American Riviera Orchard, or whatever they're calling it now after that rebrand to As Ever, was meant to be Meghan's ticket to Goop-level success. Jams, wines, candles, the whole domestic goddess vibe. But oh boy, has it flopped harder than expected. First, there were the trademark issues that held everything up for months. Then, when they finally launched a few products like that overpriced rosé and those flower sprinkles, the reviews came pouring in, and they weren't kind. People complaining about the scents not matching the hype, the packaging feeling cheap for the price tag, and let's not forget that Valentine's edit that barely moved any units. Hours after dropping, it was still sitting there unsold, gathering digital dust. Insiders say sales have been dismal, hundreds of thousands of items still in inventory even after the holidays. It's like she thought slapping her name on it would make it fly off the shelves, but the public just isn't biting. And here's where the hysterics come in. According to those close to the situation, and you know how these things leak out through staff who've had enough, Meghan's been in a tailspin over this. She's reportedly blaming everyone. The PR team for not hyping it enough, the lawyers for the delays, even the media for unfair coverage, but never herself. It's always someone else's fault that the brand isn't the smash hit she envisioned. One source even described it as her freaking out over the numbers, pacing around their mansion, ranting about how the world doesn't appreciate her vision. And poor Harry. He's caught in the middle, trying to calm her down while dealing with his own regrets about burning bridges back home. Money's a big part of this, too. They've blown through millions on PR stunts, legal fees, and that lavish lifestyle. Private jets, security details that cost a fortune, the works. Archewell, their foundation, has been under scrutiny for low donations and high expenses, And with the commercial deals fizzling, the cash flow isn't what it used to be. Rumors are swirling that they're dipping into Harry's inheritance from Diana to keep things afloat. But how long can that last? Meghan's always been the ambitious one, the driver behind their post-royal ventures, and seeing it all crumble has her in what some are calling a meltdown. She's even been accused of clashing with Harry over it, with him pushing for more reconciliation with his family as a safety net, while she digs in her heels, insisting they can make it on their own. But here's the juiciest bit, the nuclear option that's got everyone talking. With the brand tanking and the money worries mounting, whispers are getting louder about Meghan penning her own memoirs. You know, the tell-all that could make Spare look like a bedtime story. Omid Scobie's book Endgame already stirred the pot with those racism allegations, but Meghan's version? That could be explosive. Insiders say she's been jotting down notes for years, chronicling every slight, every perceived betrayal from the palace. It's her pull-the-trigger moment, as one report put it, a way to rake in millions and settle scores. But is it desperation? Absolutely. If the lifestyle brand is her soft rebrand, this would be the hard reset, burning whatever bridges are left. And let's be real, after all the drama she's stirred up, who's going to trust her narrative without rolling their eyes? Of course, this all ties back to the blockade across the pond. While Meghan's spiraling in California, the royal family's inner circle is fortifying the walls. We've heard about William's stance for ages. He's done, finished, no going back after the attacks in Spare and those Oprah bombshells. But now King Charles is reportedly on board too, sticking to Queen Elizabeth's rule, no half-in, half-out royals. You can't have the perks without the full commitment, and Harry's Netflix deals and commercial gigs make that impossible. And Princess Anne, she's the wild card who stepped up big time. Known for her no-nonsense attitude, she's apparently been in those closed-door meetings, what they're dubbing Sandringham Summit 2.0, arguing that letting Harry back in would be madness. She sees the chaos he brings, the media frenzy that follows, and how it distracts from the real work. Anne's always been the steady one, clocking more engagements than anyone, and she's aligned with William and Camilla to protect Charles, especially with his health issues. Camilla's role can't be understated either. Harry didn't hold back in his book, painting her as the villain, and she's not one to forget. She's fiercely guarding Charles from the stress, knowing that every Harry headline spikes his blood pressure. So you've got this trio, William the resolute heir, Anne the pragmatic powerhouse, and Camilla the protective consort, forming an unbreakable front. They're not just blocking a soft return. They're ensuring Harry stays exiled for the good of the monarchy. Sources say Charles might still take a call here and there, but any real reconciliation off the table while Meghan's in the picture pushing her own agenda. And speaking of agendas, let's not forget the other players in this saga. Sarah Ferguson, Fergie, has been popping up in the gossip too. She's had her own ups and downs with the family, but lately she's been welcomed back into the fold, attending Christmas at Sandringham and all. It's a stark contrast to the Sussexes, who weren't invited. Insiders hint that Fergie's loyalty, despite her past scandals, has earned her a second chance, while Harry and Meghan's public betrayals have sealed their fate. It's like the palace is saying, we can forgive some things, but not this. All this drama has the public divided, but the tide seems to be turning. Polls show sympathy for Harry waning, especially after that video where his emotions felt a tad performative. People are tired of the constant victim narrative, the lawsuits, the tell-alls. And for Meghan, the skepticism is even stronger. Her attempts at relatability, like that cooking show on Netflix that's been delayed amid visa troubles and production hiccups, fall flat when you remember the private jets and the mansion. It's hard to buy the everyday mom act from someone who trademarked everything from dog collars to yoga mats. But wait, there's more bubbling under the surface. Just last month, reports surfaced about Harry's visa issues in the U.S. Remember that Heritage Foundation lawsuit digging into his past drug admissions in Spare? It's still ongoing, and if it goes south, it could complicate their life in Montecito. Add to that the whispers about their marriage, Harry looking glum at events, Meghan powering through with that polished smile, and you wonder how much longer they can keep up the united front. Then there's the kids, Archie and Lilibet, growing up away from their cousins and grandparents. Charles has reportedly only seen them a handful of times, and with his health fragile, that clock is ticking. Shifting gears a bit, because this royal saga never stays in one lane, let's touch on what else is stirring in the family. King Charles has been quietly ramping up his duties despite the cancer battle, attending state visits and holding audiences. It's a show of strength, but insiders say he's leaning more on William and Anne. William's Homewards initiative on homelessness is gaining traction, with real partnerships and funding rolling in, no tears, just action. And Anne? She's been a machine, visiting everything from lighthouses to farms, embodying that keep calm and carry on ethos. Meanwhile, back in the U.S., the Sussexes' Netflix woes continue. Their Polo docuseries tanked in ratings, and Meghan's cooking show, tied to As Ever, is mired in delays over copyright drama with that Mallorca logo similarity. The mayor there even called it out, saying they want it pulled. It's just one more headache in a year full of them. And don't get me started on the staff turnover. Another PR chief gone, more assistants jumping ship. It paints a picture of chaos behind the scenes. Wrapping this all up, what does the future hold for the Sussexes? If the blockade holds and it looks ironclad, they're stuck in limbo. Harry might pine for home, but with Meghan calling the shots on her memoir threat, any olive branch could snap. The brand's failures might force a pivot, maybe more philanthropy through Archewell, but with donor scrutiny, that's risky too. Ultimately, it feels like they're reaping what they sowed: freedom at the cost of family, fame at the expense of trust. And as the palace moves forward without them, the real question is, can they reinvent themselves again? Or is this the beginning of the end?